and a candy man. Like a freight train rolling, bringing truth bombs down the line. Promoting the Southland 1 week at a time. Promoting the Southland 1 week at a time. SCV chat starts now.
Good evening, everybody out there in SCV chat land. I hope y'all are having a great evening. It's Monday, 7 o'clock. So you know what that means. It's time for your episode of SCV chat. Before we get started, as usual, the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of the GEC, its executive director, any division, brigades, camp, or other subsidiaries, strictly those of us who are expressing them. Speaking of executive directors, we've got my my older, less sexy twin, Adam Southern. And I have decided I am going to be wearing a t-shirt that says, "Hi, I'm Adam Southern" at National Reunion to really confuse everyone.
I think you should.
Now, if anybody asks any tough questions about what's going on at headquarters, I'm just going to make stuff up. So,
Yeah,
hope you're ready.
Good, so I could direct all the tough questions to you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm Connor Bond. Adam Southern just went that way.
Yeah. We are going to have casino night at the headquarters.
I'm like, no, that was Connor Bond that said that. I never said that.
Yeah, really get all the Baptist up in arms at you. Anyway, Adam, it's good to see you. Glad you could sneak in on us. Moose is on a special assignment. Carl Jones says Faversham, by the way. Moose is on a special assignment behind enemy lines. I can't say where he is. I can say that, it's something good that he's doing. Speaking of Moose, let's go ahead and pay the bills really quickly out of the way. Adam, did you know that mooses are herbivores with an average lifespan of 15 to 25 years?
No, I did not know that.
That's your weekly Moose Facts. Remember, Moose Facts are brought to you by 1175 Firearm Training. That's Carl Jones's firearm training. He sponsors our Moose Facts. There's your weekly Moose Fact.
I like that.
Well, we're trying to pay the bills here. They're also excellent swimmers, and they have a dewlap, which is a dangling flap under the chin. We just call them a double chin. But yeah, dewlaps.
I'll say I've had a dewlap for a while.
Yeah. Moose just didn't know he was getting one. Anyway, so it is our last Monday of the month, which means it's time for our Hearth and Home episode.
Right.
Really quickly before we get into it, guys, if you haven't registered for National Reunion, it's coming up in 3 weeks. Get registered. There was a post put out there that some of the tours have filled up, but there's still plenty of stuff to do in Georgia and Cartersville. If you want to be involved in this organization, if you want to learn how this organization runs, if you want to hand in how this organization runs, you really need to be there this year because it is an election year. We also have several constitutional amendments. It's a lot of fun. We do have business as a corporation that we have to handle every year, and it's important. Everybody's there, and if you're not there, don't complain about what gets passed.
That's true. You're not going to know what's going on unless you're there. I mean, everything comes on. You're going to read about it in the Confederate Veteran, 2 months later. So,
right,
prepared to be there and know what's happening on the ground floor.
Exactly. And then also heckle the executive director during his report on the very first day.
Take a number and wait.
Speaking of things going up there, have we had the dessert party?
We have. We did that the same Saturday as the Forest Boyhood Home event. And, it was a long Saturday, but It was a good Saturday. Had a big turnout for the Forest Boyhood Home event, and then that night we had a nice turnout for the dessert party, and our commander in chief was there, and of course, Lieutenant Commander in Chief Jay Bow and his wife always help with that event. So I thought it was a good event, and it's always nice to have the top brass show up and support us and see all of our SCV friends and our non-SCV friends. That's the important thing is the dessert party brings people in that are not necessarily SCV members, and we get to show off Elm Springs to people who don't normally get to see it. So
And Summer Garden has started back up.
it has, and I'm at Elm Springs right now doing the chat. I'm right beside the Jeff Davis statue, and my lovely bride is on the other side of the property tending to the Elm Springs kitchen garden, and she's harvesting all the squash and peppers and cucumbers and what else might be coming in right now. So if you're in the area, stop by. We have produce available. You can stop by, take what you need, and leave a donation.
Good deal. Speaking of your lovely bride and desserts, any chance you can bring me one of them chocolate whiskey cakes up to National Reunion?
Those don't travel very well, especially when they're traveling with me because I eat them. But no, but they're really not a cake that will transport. So
Oh, well, darn. I know she makes a coconut cake. I just don't like coconut.
Next time you're here, we'll have to twist her arm and have her make one.
It may not be until next year before I can make it back up to headquarters.
Well, it'll be all right.
Yeah, well, no. I wanted to come in October, but that four letter word has got me pretty much stuck in Mississippi. Yeah. So I'm depressed now. Really quick, let me throw on a ticker. What else is going on up at headquarters?
Well, later this month, after we get back from reunion, we're going to have our first ever cruise in. So, classic car cruise in. It's called the Rebel Rouser. So, we're hoping a lot of people who have classic cars in the area will come and bring their vehicles in our huge, nice paved parking lot here at the museum. And we can, oh goodness, Miss Kayla's sharing a picture of all the goodies she's gotten out of the garden yet. She's got one basket full of produce, and she's not even done yet. So if you're in the area, shop our farm stand here down Springs. But yeah, classic car cruise ins coming up on the 30th of July. It'll be the first time we've tried this. We've got a beautiful paved parking lot here on our property, so I thought, why not try it and see what happens? And if nothing else, we can get people into our museum, see what we're about, and hopefully have people join the SCV too. So
yeah, that's anything that we can do to help bring people to our headquarters. I know our membership has a lot of classic motorheads and things like that. So I think J-Bo's a little bit of a motor nut himself. So that's usually goes hand in hand. Really quickly, I do want to use a point of personal privilege, if that's okay, before we really get started. Don Gaines, he was a member of my camp. He's actually my camp newsletter editor. Just said good evening. Good evening, Donald. I want to throw it out there that a couple weeks ago, I asked for some help from folks who, if they felt like donating to my camp's fundraiser for Camp Rad. And Adam, you'll get something for this for the Combined Charities campaign. My camp, I want to thank everybody who did donate. We were able to raise $7,000, which sent 23 children who are under financial straits and also have muscular dystrophy to a summer camp this here in Mississippi. So everybody, if you did donate, we appreciate it. Next year, we're looking to go to make it bigger. But I just, I put that call out and just want to thank anybody who did donate. because of that. So anyway,
Okay.
is there a flyer for the Rebel Rouser car show?
Is there a what?
Flyer.
There is, and did not share one with you, but I will do that prior to July 30th. So you can share that with our fine watchers and viewers and everybody keeping up with SCV chat. So
Well, we'll put it on there and our TikTok and our Instagram. Remember, we're on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Nobody else has the new social media folks haven't. We're not on Twitter, but the new social media folks haven't caught up with StreamYard, or StreamYard hadn't caught up with them. But we're working on that. No, we're not on Corey, Shane, Walford. We don't have it. The headquarters sends out the telegraph. We don't. So that's that. Um, so yeah. Anyway, so y'all had a pretty fun-filled weekend up there at Elm Springs, right, Adam?
yeah, we really did. This weekend was a combination of many years of hard work by the United Daughters of the Confederacy, the Tennessee division. Uh, I didn't realize it had been going on for this long, but 20 years ago they started a legal battle with Vanderbilt University over Confederate Memorial Hall, a building that was on the campus of Vanderbilt. And it was originally a building that was financed by the United Daughters of the Confederacy for students who were descendants of Confederate veterans. They could house up to 50 students there in this dormitory. And over the years, they kept that tradition up. And of course, political correctness reared its ugly head, and they no longer wanted something named Confederate Memorial Hall on the campus of that university. So, after years of legal battles and maneuverings, an agreement was finally reached. Said, okay, you can take it down if you will pay us back in modern day money, what we originally invested in your university. And it ended up being well over $1 million. I believe the sum was around $1.2 million Vanderbilt had to pay the UDC to remove the word Confederate Memorial Hall from the top of this building. And they said, you can take that down, but we want the words back and we want the money. So they were given the check. They were given these huge letters that came off the pediment of this building. And then they had to decide where were they going to display these works. So after a few years, it was decided that they would put it here on the Sons of Confederate property. I believe it was during Paul Gramlin's administration they made that decision. And 2 years, almost 3 years later, here we are, and we dedicated the wall this weekend. And I think you have a couple of pictures of how that turned out. And so there's the final product there. That writing, Confederate Memorial Hall, was over the portico of that building there on the campus.
And J-Bo did a great job weed eating over there by it.
Oh, he sure did. And that's 21 bags of mulch in front of it if you're interested. And then, of course, there's myself, including Lieutenant Commander in Chief, the Commander in Chief, and the Tennessee Division UDC top brass there. So it was a good weekend. It was hot, definitely hot, but with a lot of shade there behind Elm Springs. We made it through the event. And, they had a beautiful reception in the Elm Springs meeting room, and I think it was a good weekend all in all for the SCV UDC.
Yeah, and I'm sure that well, it's been up there for a while. I'm glad that it's dedicated, and we get to tell that as part of telling the narrative up there at headquarters. That's a really, really great statement, really great piece to have. And the other thing that you shared to me, I could not pull that up, So you can just tell us about it, and then
Oh,
I've got something I want to talk about with you while you're on the air.
well, you made a good statement. I'd like to go back to that. I mean, it's not just the museum here at Elm Springs. It's our entire property is dedicated to telling the story of the Sons of Confederate Veterans and the Confederacy, and them taking that wording down from the dormitory on the Vanderbilt campus. That's just part of our story and our modern day struggle that we're facing today. And we'll be able to put some signage up there on the property and some interpretive signing why we have this on our property and why it's here where it once was. And eventually we'll have a walking trail throughout the entire property that leads you from the museum to the family cemetery, the forest graves, to the house, hopefully down to the original spring, and then we'll work you around over to that Confederate monument, the Confederate Memorial Hall pediment. So not only will you be coming to the museum, our whole site will be an interpretive center where you can learn the history of the Confederacy and all the way from its inception to its current day struggle.
So the spring, is the water in it actually potable still?
We haven't been able to test it yet. You can hear it from the spring house, but you have to climb about 10 feet up in the air to enter the spring house. And then once you're inside the spring house, it's 20 feet down into the earth to test the water. And I just haven't been able to find a company brave enough yet to test the water to go down into this hole.
Use
So,
Matt.
Matt, we have to pay him workers' comp if something happens to him. So, you know, and we throw the OSHA handbook out all the time. So
I think Vinny's volunteering to do it.
yeah,
Uh,
we'll toss cousin Vinny up in there, and we might want to wait until winter because I imagine there's some uh, copperheads probably as big around as my arm down in there. So
hmm.
we don't disturb them right now.
Vin, only thing Vinny needs is 30 foot of rope. Say 10 feet up the ladder, 20 feet down into the earth. I've got some snake boots he can borrow.
You might need a snake suit.
Todd.
Yeah.
We use Todd.
I, yep. So Todd, next time you're at Elm Springs, we have a chore for you.
Oh, mercy, mercy alive. So, what you sent me earlier, what I can post on the post online looks like kind of an online catalog or something.
Yeah, the General McCain Research Library and Education Center here at Elm Springs. We're working to, uh, I say slowly, catalog all of our books that we have in the library so we can know what we have and researchers can easily access the materials that we have. I say about half of the books in the library are cataloged at this point. I say half more come in every day, so that kind of throws my equation off a little bit, but we still have a lot of books to unpack and put on the shelf and go through, but uh, we're slowly making progress. I think we're up to about 2,000 books cataloged in that system. And we're not just talking old books, but also new books. And one of the new books that just came out, this is a 2022 publication. I really enjoyed this one. I hope you will too. It's To the Uttermost Ends of the Earth. The epic South's most feared ship in the greatest sea battle of the Civil War. It's a new book about the Alabama and, of course, the Kearsarge that uh, ultimately took the Alabama down. And it's not only a dual book about those two ships, but it's a dual book about those two captains, Captain Winslow and Admiral Sims. And it's by Phil Keith and Tom Clavin. Both authors took a person or a side and they wrote the stories and then interwove those stories together. And I never really realized that Winslow and Sims had a history together. They were both cabin mates during the Mexican War. So we're very familiar with each other, considered themselves friends, and ended up facing off against each other during the war between the states on the high seas. So it's a very interesting book. I have, if you post the link to our library catalog, I posted my review of the book there, so you can go and read what I thought about it. But one thing that I thought was rather interesting was, of course, the Alabama took so many prizes during the war, but there was one ship. Of course, it was a Yankee merchant ship. And what do the Yankees claim to be fighting for? You know, they're fighting for slavery. The captain of this Yankee ship had a slave. So Admiral Sims found that to be completely ironic and liberated this slave. And then he became a free man of color who served on the the CSS Alabama. So not only was the Alabama taking prizes, they were liberating slaves. I thought that was a very interesting story and one I hadn't ever heard before. Also told the story in the ship. It ended up being kind of a small footnote, but it was told the story of the gentleman that we have buried here on our property, Lieutenant Simeon Cummins, who was a sailor on the CSS Alabama. And they were in Cape Town, South Africa, and his gun went off and accidentally killed him. So they buried him there in Africa, and in 1994, the Sons retrieved his body and brought him here to Elm Springs. So I find it a good read, and I would recommend you read it if you have the chance. I'm sure most public libraries will have this book, or you can find it where most good books are sold. Always support your local bookshops if you can. But yeah, enjoyed that book, and right now I'm working through our man Sandy's book, Sandy Meacham's book on the Confederate generals.
What was the name of the book one more time, Adam?
This one's called To the Uttermost Ends of the Earth.
Well, speaking of good books and paying the bills really quickly and talking about Dr. McCain, we, of course, are sponsored right now by our Commander-in-Chief, who's an author and who's come out with a new book, In Defense of Beauregard. Got my copy a couple months ago. We've done a review of it. I got it, all scribbled in and everything like that. It's not my favorite of his books. My favorite of his books is the Yazoo Pass Expedition, because he mentions me in the forward of it. He didn't mention me in this one, but anyway, we did a review of that book. Go back and watch it. Not right now, obviously, because we're doing a live show, but go back and watch it. You can get a copy of the book at LarryMcClooney.com. That's LarryMcClooney.com. His contact information's there. You can email him and he'll be happy to sign a copy and send it to you. Great book. It's not written like your stereotypical biography that you would expect. It's written more like a court case where he's actually, writing a defense of Beauregard, hence the name, In Defense of Beauregard. So get a copy of it, read it, enjoy it, love it, all that good stuff. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, Adam doesn't know this, but we're going to talk about the man that the library is named after. If I can figure out how to take a short break. Dang it, Moose. It's all Moose's fault.
When my mother was in college, she danced with Confederate veterans. To me, it wasn't that far away. My father knew this. My mother knew this. Almost 50 years ago, I joined the Sons of Confederate Veterans. In those days, we weren't concerned about saving monuments or any of those things. That wasn't necessary. In fact, none of us had any remote idea that it would ever come up. We can't just sit there and react. We have to be proactive. Or, as Robert E. Lee said, the best way to disrupt your enemy's plans is to strike first. Everyone should do all in his power to collect and disseminate the truth, in the hope that it may find a place in history and descend to posterity. History is not the relation of campaigns and battles and generals or other individuals, but that which shows the principles for which the South contended and which justified her struggle for those principles. If you're looking for some place to be where you think you're going to accomplish something to save our history, go to the Sons of Confederate Veterans. I'm Thomas Lee Jesse. I'm a descendant of Private Daughtery Gilmer, a Confederate veteran.
I'm about to ban Moose from being able to comment on the page from his SCV page. He keeps asking if we miss him.
Yes, we do. We miss the Moose.
Although I did get him one time with a Nerf gun. That wasn't a complete miss. Yuck, 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 yuck. Anyway, so in Mississippi, we talk about how, and Moose, I really hope you're paying attention to this because you're supposed to be writing about this man. We talk about members of our past who we have forgotten, gentlemen who were instrumental in making the SCV what it is today, and you can't really. There would be no Sons of Confederate Veterans if it was not for Dr. D. McCain. Dr. McCain, well, we'll tell you why that he's so important just here in a little bit. Give you a little bit of biographical stuff about him. W.D. McCain was born on March 1907 in Bellefonte, Mississippi. He was an educator, an archivist, a college president. He was a leader in the Mississippi political eras during his time. He was a major general in the Mississippi National Guard. That's why you'll hear that he is either referred to as General or Dr. McCain. He was a big promoter of the Sons of Confederate Veterans. He was adjutant-in-chief forever. But what's really interesting when learning about Dr. McCain is his entire biography. Dr. McCain, he attended Delta State University in Cleveland, Mississippi, which is my alma mater. It's where he got his bachelor's. Then it was Delta State's Teachers College. He went on to the University of Mississippi, which is soon to be Moose's alma mater, and then went to Duke, where he got his doctorate. After he got his doctorate, he began being a guest lecturer at several of colleges and universities in Mississippi. He eventually made his way to the Morristown National Historic Park in Morristown, New Jersey, where he was a genealogist and archivist. During this time, he started or helped start the Society of American Archivists. Do you remember that, Adam? Oh, well, you look into that. Anyway, Society of American Archivists, where he began working on the histories of his family, the McCain family, the Fox family, the Shaw, and the Vance families. Dr. McCain worked briefly as assistant archivist at the U.S. National Archives in Washington, D.C., before accepting a position here back in his home in Mississippi as the director of the Mississippi Department of Archives and History in 1938. Right after he got out of high school in 1924, at the age of 17, he enlisted in the Army National Guard. This was, of course, after World War I and in the interim period before World War II broke out. During World War II, he served as U.S. Army anti-aircraft. He served in a U.S. Army anti-aircraft artillery unit stationed on the Gulf. In December of 1943, he was reassigned as a military historian, recording the progression of the U.S. Fifth Army through North Africa, Sicily, and southern Italy. That following September, he would be transferred, and McCain joined the MFAA as regional archivist for the Lombardia region of Italy. and there he operated alongside the Monuments Men, specifically Major Harry E. Bell. And his job was to help locate, safeguard, and recover collections of looted Italian books, manuscripts, records, governmental records of all times. He collaborated closely with Italian officials to restore several damaged libraries, as well as to coordinate the return to Rome of the records of the Italian government. So, yeah, he was a monuments man. If you saw that movie, what's his name from Downton Abbey? Hugh Bonneville is one of them. It was I can't remember when that movie came out, but not that many people knew that he was a monuments man. And MFAA stands for Monuments, Fine Arts, and Archives. That was a subcommission during that. McCain wrote that they were tasked to take care of the archival deposits in northern Italy, to plan for the restorations of archival service in northern Italy, and to plan for the protection and return to Rome the records of the ministries which had been removed northward as the Allies advanced. During the winter of 44 to 45, McCain worked again in state archives. During the spring, as Allied armies surged north on the Italian peninsula, McCain worked to locate and inspect several depositories of books and things like that. In fact, there's one story that I read that he was actually several miles before enemy lines, or behind enemy lines, which does the Italians, but he ended up catching a train and transferred the contents of the train back to Rome in 1135 truck convoys. And 11 times 35 is, somebody who's good at math can say that. Anyway, after the end of the war in December 45, he returned to Jackson and resumed his duties as the archivist. He continued in the National Guard, and that included a 22-month mobilization time in the Korean War. Trying to pull up another article on him. McCain, specifically dealing with the Sons of Confederate Veterans, he refounded the Dormant Sons of Confederate Veterans organization at some point in his where he was unapologetically revered the Confederacy and its policies. We honor him today in several different ways. The library is named after him. The headquarters camp at National's named after him. The headquarters camp here in Mississippi is named after him. Our headquarters in headquarters office, we have a large picture dedicated, to his memory. In 1953, when he refounded it, just for everybody's records, we were down to 30 camps, 1,000 members, and a little over $1,000 in assets. And he began building us up tremendously. In 1953, McCain threw himself in redeveloping the organization into an influential force into everything that we are today. He revived the Confederate Veteran magazine, and he began membership drives. Over his 30 years of stewardship from 1953 to the late 1980s before his death, membership rose from that 1,000 to almost 2,000 members, and he led the charge to obtaining the national current headquarters in Columbia, Tennessee, which has our museum. Yeah. For his service, again, we give a literary award named after him. I think we still do. Do we still do that? Yeah. I can't remember all the national awards off the top of my head. He was also, during that time, he was president of what's now USM. The Columbia is named in his honor. The headquarters camp, like we said. Just so much stuff. I mean, he was one of the early recruiting videos we had in 1991. featured both him and Trent Lott. Trent was a member during that time. I think he still is. But Dr. McCain, we would not have, like we've said, SCV without him. And really, a couple of years ago, I was sitting at a SCV meeting, and a guy from headquarters camp that was just, so happened to be attending, and he said, "Yeah, I was doing some research on that General McCain feller. He didn't even serve in the war. Why are we named after him? Why is it named after him?" And I had to go off on him about that. So yeah, I mean, he's buried a hop, skip, and a jump away from my grandparents in Jackson. There we are.
I'm glad you told me that. I've learned over the years of listening to you talk about Joe McCain. I've learned a lot about him, especially his time as a monuments-man. So I found that very fascinating. I hope Moose will write more about him, and be nice if we could publish a little bit about him in our Confederate Veteran. Moose, if you can get that article done.
There is, I found an article. It was of a picture. It was his obituary, right after he passed in 1993. That goes to it, and for the man that did so much for this organization, he did not wear chalice in his life.
Yeah, that's what you told me.
He and when because you can find the list of all past chalice winners on, I think it's in the awards manual, which is on scv.org, documents and forms awards manual, and he is not listed. He got the Robert E. Lee Award, but he did not receive the chalice. And before I leave the SCV, that's one of my goals, is to make sure that it is awarded posthumously, because he is, yeah.
Any man's deserved, it would be him.
Exactly. That and I would love to, his inclusion in the Monuments Men story, especially now that it's gotten some recognition, needs to be told, because he was in my opinion, got a new nickname for him, the Fighting Archivist.
There you go.
That Moose, I got you a title for that section. You're going to write about him, the Fighting Archivist, document William D. McCain. I know you can hear me. I see you commenting in there. Anyway, well,
I've got a nice portrait of General McCain in our library that's named after him. So long ago, I had our picture made in front of it. So
we do, and I'll try to pull that picture up really quick. Let's see if I can add it. So I can find it and add it really quickly. Those are pictures that'll never see the light of day. That's me in my kilt. Oh, Adam, by the way, I got a kilt.
What tartan is it?
It is the Royal Stewart. It was something everybody could wear. It's almost impossible for me to find. Almost impossible for me to find my family tartan, because we are the clan is not CLN is not active. We don't have a chieftain, and yeah. So I just got something that I could wear and not get in trouble with. Hey, look, there he is.
Very good picture.
It is. We look good.
Cleaned up well, don't we?
We do on occasion. Are you looking forward to the debut? You have not been to a national reunion where a debutante presentation has gone on, have you?
I have not. No, it'll be a first.
Oh, you were in for a treat.
What night is that? Is that the night of our grand ball, or
that is the prelude to the grand ball? So it's dinner, awards, swearing of officers, debutantes, cut a rug.
Ball. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Carl, God love him, really wants to bring in frog stomping. He found a very obscure reference to it in a English journal, 1400s.
All right.
Um, I don't know if it's going to catch on.
Is that dance kind of like Granny Clampett doing the tater digger, or
No. Actually, they released frogs out on the dance room floor, and the young 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old women have to stomp on them.
okay? I like that as a coming out custom. So, yeah, why not?
I mean, Emily Post wrote in one of her editions that frog stomping and fried spam on Melba toast during high tea are the heights of society.
I guess we're really living it up.
I mean, we didn't have fried spam and Melba toast at the movie debut. So speaking of, how are the movies selling?
We are sold out at this moment. So we are out of. I think we originally ordered 300 copies, so we are completely out. We hope to have more in by reunion. So if you haven't ordered a copy yet, uh, bear with us. We'll have some in stock by reunion, and you can get them while you. It makes sense.
It does. David Popes keeps rubbing in the Tennessee thing, and normally I'm happy about that. I mean, heck, even my mouse pad. But I mean, Mississippian. I am glad that Mississippi has the national championship 2 years in a row, and I'm glad for Moose that that happened while he was a student there. But dang nabbit, we swept Ole Miss at the beginning of the season.
Yep.
Um,
Fizzled out. Fizzled out too soon.
I don't think. Well, I think we shot ourselves in the foot with getting a little bit too cocky.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened. But hey, next year's our year.
Yep.
It's
Of course,
it's
every football season too. So
right ever since Lane Kiffin left. But I'm also doubly heartbroken because I was really hoping that Peyton would be able to talk his nephew Arch into coming up and
yeah,
following some a family tradition. But he's his own man and going to Texas.
he's got to blaze a new trail, I guess.
I reckon. Uh, anyway,
I was hoping
well,
we could bring back those Peyton Manning commercials. Omaha.
yeah, that would have been great.
Yep. But like you said, always next year.
Always next year. Thing about the South, we got good barbecue and always the next year for football, and especially if Nick Saban retires.
Amen to that. What else is going on?
Uh, had Comic Con this past weekend at my WOR. Um, not a single person dressed in Confederate uniform.
I mean, we could have at least reprised Captain Confederacy. I was tickled to death to find this comic called Captain Confederacy, and Moose had heard of it. He said it was very popular back in its day. It was so I was first I had ever heard of it, but Moose had heard of it and several others. So I'm working on putting together a popular culture section of our museum, and we'll be putting that comic in there along with some new things that have been donated to us. We've got some frocks that have been used in some well-known movies, uh, Gone with the Wind and Gods and Generals. So I'll be telling you more about those later on, but those will be sort of the foundation of this popular culture section, and we'll be talking about literature and uh, comics now and movies and all the other areas where the Confederate tradition has been put on the screen or put to music or put in writing. So
I really hope it's not one of that weak Ashley Wilkes' frocks.
No, this one hasn't been identified, but it's been kind of identified as a Gone with the Wind frog. So we don't know who wore it, but it was worn.
Hey, y'all want a Centennial uniform?
Yeah, if you have one.
I do.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
We have two UCV frocks now. So a Centennial frock would be, our Centennial uniform would be something to add, and we can add that to our uh, ongoing timeline. And if you haven't been to the museum yet, Jimmy Hill and his committee, they've been knocking it out of the park. They've got the timeline all the way up to the Jamestown, and we're up to First Manassas right now. So we have screens in the museum showing videos along with the different sections of the timeline, and they're putting artifacts to the timeline right now. So they are rocking and rolling, and something's changing in our museum every week. And I just invite you to come see us next chance you get, and come see the house, and come see me.
And he may or may not answer the phone when you call.
I may or may not, but there's always voicemail, and I'll get back
Yeah.
with you.
And you know what? He may call you 2 seconds right after you hang up.
That's right. I mean, if you call me from across the room, I'm a big fella. It's going to take me a while to get there.
Takes a second to waddle over there. Hey, we don't have one of the Coca-Cola plaques.
Come again.
So back in, I've got a picture of it somewhere on my desktop. I won't be able to put it up. I got it right here. Let's see if I can pull it up and get the information. It was one of the TV reunions in Atlanta. They had a 1931, and it wasn't. Excuse me, it was Montgomery, not not Atlanta, but it's a souvenir of UCB reunion, Alabama, June 2nd through 5th, 1931, and it's an advertisement for Coca-Cola. And I found one online for $1,000 a couple months ago, and it was right when Coca-Cola was being.
Becoming Coca-Cola.
Yeah, exactly. That's not a way to put it. And I asked people to try to find one for a cheaper price. I think that would be interesting in the popular cultural portion.
David Hill actually framed a reprint of that for us, and we've got that display right now. But it would be nice to have an original. But until that time, that reprint's working fine. So.
Daniel Paul says he's for $100 he'll sell his autographed Adam Southern high school baseball picture.
That's worth more than 100. I mean, hang on to that.
You played high school baseball?
I had a perfect batting average. I was 1 for 1 in my career.
Decided to hang it up after that.
I mean, perfection. I retired in my freshman season.
Good Lord, man. That must be when Kayla fell in love with you, too.
1 hit, 1 RBI. I mean, couldn't ask for a better end of the year than that. Last game of the year.
Oh, goodness. All right. Well, we've been at it for 49 minutes. We're actually going to call it early tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to try to grab a bite to eat here in a second. I know I'm ready to go check on Miss Kayla, make sure she's good, and head on to the house and see Twitty Bird. No, there's no bird behind the dog's name, is it?
Just Twitty.
I know where I was getting Twitty Bird from.
Twitty and Ducky.
Yeah.
2 hound dogs.
Moose asks if we're going to handle Thursday. I mean, I can if you're still behind enemy lines. Do we have anybody lined up? Because if not, it's just going to be me rambling.
I can come on and chat if you need me, or you can rerun somebody.
You know, I think I may steal Jason if he's free Thursday. And yes, Mr. Paul, we all are keeping Miss Linda in our prayers for speedy recovery. So yeah.
Completely.
All right, so Moose evidently has a speaker, so I'm gonna have to call Moose and see if he can talk behind enemy lines. Phone service works that well. We've also got the Alamo City Guards chat with Christian Lee. A bunch of great things happening on. Bring Jason on. Without me, I'm hurt.
Who said
Okay.
that?
Moose said it. I have no idea what he's saying. Must be Yankee interference or the fact that he needs hooked on phonics. One way or t'other. We'll see y'all Thursday.
Better frog.
No Fumar in the elevator. Right or frop.
Better frog.